Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. On behalf of Holt Construction, welcome to our series, Get to Work on Terminal 8, the strategic programming we have created in partnership with American Airlines to engage, inform, and hire certified MWBEs, LBEs, and members of Queens community interested in working on the JFK Terminal 8 expansion. My name is Chris Asaro, and I serve as president of Holt Construction, a family-owned and operated full-service construction management and general contracting firm. If you have never worked with Holt before, you should know that when it comes to diversity and inclusion, our commitment is built from the top down and from the inside out. We have taken on the JFK Terminal 8 expansion like all of our other projects, and that includes creating a tailored, unique, and comprehensive diversity plan. I'm excited to kick off today's session, and I hope you find the information engaging and informative. On behalf of Holt, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to join us, and I look forward to connecting and working with you. Now it is my pleasure to welcome our project partner and familiar face to this project, Sade Olapeckin-Lewis, Regional Director of Government and Airport Affairs at American Airlines Terminal 8.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of American Airlines and the John F. Kennedy International Airport Terminal 8 expansion, welcome to today's Get to Work session. My name is Sade Olapeckin-Lewis, and I serve as the Regional Director of Government Affairs for American Airlines. JFK is getting ready to welcome a new American Airlines Terminal 8. The project will improve the overall customer experience with a total of 70,400 square feet of added space, including 33,000 square feet of public space. Another 57,500 square feet of existing space will be refurbished. To build the new Terminal 8, American Airlines and Holt Construction are committed to engaging, preparing, and hiring certified minority and women-owned business enterprises, MWBEs, local business enterprises, LBEs, and construction workers for this project. This series of programming entitled Get Ready to Work at Terminal 8 has been strategically designed for certified firms and the local community workforce who would like to work on the JFK Terminal 8 expansion. I want to sincerely thank you for taking time out of your busy day to attend today's session. As a small business owner, we know you have a lot on your plate, and we will be respectful of your time today. Today's program is called Preparing a Bid, What They Never Taught You in School. It is being conducted by Holt's estimating team and will assist you in preparing a bid submission. Learn from experts who understand what to include in your bid, what you need to consider to keep a profit margin, and to understand the terms and conditions of your bid response. They didn't teach this in school, so get ready to better understand the art and science of bid preparation. Now, let's get started with today's session.
Thank you, Sade, and thank you everyone for joining us. Today's session, we will review how to prepare and submit a proposal to Holt Construction. With us today, we have Joe Martinez. He's the head of our pre-construction division here at Holt. Joe, would you like to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Alex. Listen, I've been in the construction industry for over 35 years. I've started in the estimating realm, and then I've actually worked into operations. So I think at this point in my career, I have a really good handle on what we do and what things cost and how things are built. So I'm a perfect fit right now for this pre-construction service.
Great, thanks, Joe. I'm going to go through a couple questions with you. And then at the end, we'll go through the opportunities for the Terminal 8 project, and we'll have a live Q&A so everyone can ask any questions that we may not have touched on.
Great.
Joe, first question. What are the key elements for a first takeoff and start of your estimate?
Well, first, before we even get into that, let's get started. When you're initially looking at an estimate, you have to see if this is a project that's in your wheelhouse. Is this something that you've done before? I'm not advocating limiting or siloing your business, but to make it, sure that you've done this type of project. You have the ability to undertake this project. Do you have the resources for the project? Are you financially stable and can you afford the project? Is a bond required? Do you have the capacity just overall? Does your insurance meet the goal requirements? Do you have the personnel perform the work? It may be a project that you can normally handle with the manpower currently under your employ. But when you check the schedule that's only supplied by the CM, you no longer have the resources, or you feel that you no longer have the resources to perform a good job. And once you've established that is an opportunity that you're gonna pursue, go for it. I think one of the key elements is you must, and as we've always talked, you must read and understand the drawings. And as basic as it sounds, I mean, understand the drawings. Just don't take a square footage of ceilings or linear footage of drywall or count outlets or receptacle or switches. I'm sorry. Really build the job in your head. I can't stress enough just to read and understand the drawings. I mean, this will be a common theme throughout this discussion. There'll probably be a little bit of repetition because that's what estimating is. It's not science. It's estimating. It's something that we're taking our best guess as to what the scope is and what the price is going to be. And I just got to reiterate, build the project in your head. It's something that's very important for you to understand how all the components go together.
Great. Joe, the next question, because Holt Construction is both a CM and a GC, are those projects viewed differently when preparing an estimate?
So let us not use CM versus GC, as most GCs will perform CM work. It's more a function of approach, and absolutely there are different approaches. Lump sum is based on price. This is the most important thing to a general contractor when we're bidding. We will descope you to the best of our ability, but decisions are based mostly on price. The submission of the price will be our understanding that you have a complete understanding, and your price includes everything. Schedule, qualifications, everything is included. A CM type delivery, whether it be design build, GMP, IPD, are more not as price sensitive, but more the scope is elevated in its importance. CM deliveries will most time have a scope of work included with their bids, so that we have accounted for any of the gray area that might be missed in a normal lump sum bid. So yes, there definitely is a different approach that a GCCM takes when bidding, and we do pass that on to our subcontractors.
Great. What are some common errors that you see when subs submit their proposals to you?
Simple things, not reading the specifications. Again, not understanding the drawings, as we said earlier. Little things like not checking the scale on the drawings. I've had numbers where one contractor is half of another, and when he, did you realize it was certain scale versus another? They said no. Not reading all the drawings from architectural through engineering. Sometimes there are items on the architectural drawings that are not shown on the engineering drawings. Moreover, quantities, right? We want to check that we have the right number of quantities on the engineering drawings that are shown on the architectural, because technically you're buying the whole set of drawings. Schedule is probably the most important. We've had tons of times where contractors have given us a really great proposal, and then they don't realize that it's an accelerated schedule or that a lot of the work is being done in overtime. And, honestly, simple calculation mistakes. I can't tell you how many times while performing an estimate and modifying a spreadsheet formula, a simple formula wasn't carried over to a cell, and you find that you've missed out on, a couple $100,000 worth of time, material. So, and some of the other things are just, it's always important to get a site visit, especially if the type of project you're bidding on is something that you're really not familiar with. You want to be, aware of what the site conditions are. Also, if you're providing alternates to whatever specified material there is, I think it's crucial that you let us know up front what you're submitting. You don't want to get caught being awarded a project and then not being able to supply the specified product versus the product that you've priced. It doesn't sit well when the CM and GC have to go, or GC have to go back to the client and let them know that there has been a change. And one of the items they say, well, do I get a credit for this type of work? So again, it's just being upfront, being honest, and letting everybody know what's included in your price.
Great. What about, so because Terminal 8 is a airport project, is there anything specific that people should look at if it's their first time bidding in an airport environment?
Again, I think it goes back to, and again, here's where some of the repetition comes in. I think it's more look at your hours of work and field conditions. I can't stress enough field conditions. It's going to, things may not be as difficult as the drawings seem, or they might be more difficult. But I think one of the major components is you have to have a site visit. If one's not scheduled, or if, please ask us or the CM, GC, whoever it is, you need to get a site visit. If not, you're gonna have to make the proper qualifications.
Okay, great. How is the best way for someone if they want to have a site visit or they want to talk to their estimator? Is it better to make a phone call? Is an email better? What do you think people should do?
Listen, I'm an advocate of phone calls. I try not to do as much as I can on email. If there is something you need, pick up the phone. It's the easiest way. The worst is you can always pick up a phone, and then if the person's not there, if the estimator's not there, you can always say, drop them an email. Eventually, you will need an email for just making sure that everything that you've asked has been answered properly, right? And so there's no gray area as to what was said over the phone versus what's in writing. So it is good to have anything that has been clarified in writing.
Great. What do you think some of the best practices with all of your experience that you can share with everyone listening? What is a couple best practices that you could share?
The first step in the construction process is selecting the right type of work to bid, okay? You may be an electrical contractor and you may do infrastructure work, but you don't do data centers, or you don't do interior fit outs, or you don't do low voltage work. So again, you should avoid bidding on any construction projects that you really have limited experience and are more likely to make a mistake during the estimating process, as well as on the construction, on the operation side. And then, some of the best practices is what I call it's a 3-tiered approach. You'll hear, if you Google estimating, a lot of people are using it now, where it's first like a square footage number or an overall estimate. And that comes with experience. I've done this before, and the last time I did it, a job of similar size cost me X number of dollars. That gives you kind of a guideline of where you want to be. Then there's a top down, or what they call, you take an overall number and then you break it down into you take the number first and then you break it down into the components, and then you call what they call a bottom up, is where you break it into the components and assemble the price. I tend to want to take bits and pieces of all 3 of them just as checks against each other. It kind of makes sure that the number is going in the right direction. If you see a number starting to take off on you, there has to be a reason why. It gives you that ability to then go in and check. Listen, there's an anomaly that you didn't pick up at your first overall view of the project that is causing the price to spike. It could be the schedule is causing the price to spike. It could be a material selection that the architect or engineer specified, and it's really you're sole sourcing something that is causing the price to spike. It just gives you a little bit more education about what's going on.
Great. What are some of the risks that people need to be aware of and think about when they're building their estimates?
Well, the major risk with anything is, do you have the financial capabilities to do the work? What does that mean? That means you got to figure anybody who's a subcontractor has to probably float a good portion of payroll for an extended period of time. Contingent upon when you get the project, you could be floating payroll for almost 60 days, right? You have your first 30 days of operation. Your invoice then goes into the CM or GC. They bill the client. They get paid within hopefully 15 to 20 days. So it's 2 months, so there is a substantial financial risk if you can't handle it. Other things to consider: deposits. If you don't specifically ask for them when bidding a job, you're not going to get them. I mean, unless we bid with an architect or not. Hold are the deposits. Unless we specifically ask for them during the bidding process and include them in our proposal, we're not really going to get them. So it doesn't hurt if there's a one type of contractor that you have to get some money for, ask for the money. We can always ask for it, they can always deny it, and then we can let the client know that there might potentially be schedule repercussions if these deposits are not put forth. And then just not having the ability to supply manpower. As we mentioned before, you can bid a job, you can have enough manpower to sustain your company, and then all of a sudden now you're looking at a project that has an expedited schedule. You're going to need twice the amount of manpower, and you're not going to be able to do the project. So these are just risks. There are inherent risks in everything that we do in estimating and in construction. But these are just things that are, come to the forefront all the time. Every time we go over these projects, this is the stuff that always pops up as the risk is financial capabilities and manpower. Everybody thinks they have enough manpower until the CM says, well, did you read the schedule? And you're really supposed to be finishing this project in 26 weeks. And at this rate, you're never going to do it.
I think that's so important because us as GCs or CM, we look at the job in our head and we're putting together the job in our head, how we're going to build it. So it seems like when you're estimating a project, you're estimating the job in your head with how you're going to build it. And that's how you build a good, strong estimate.
Right. And I think, as I said earlier, one of the questions was the difference between I think a GC bid and a CM bid. Is it different? Yes, we do look at it differently. As a CM, it's more scope and schedule. We want to make sure that the scope is correct and that the scope follows the schedule. If it's an expedited schedule, we want to make sure that you have the overtime in. So those things we try to pick up early on in the process.
Right. And I think the biggest thing that I personally has encountered as a project manager or project executive was that an electrical contractor, for example, won't look at the architectural drawings to ensure that the lighting count is the same that's on the electrical drawings, that's on the architecturals. So, what happens then is I'm buying all drawings from you.
Correct.
So you own those. So we want to make sure that all the subs are looking at all drawings, because you might have, your HVAC drawings might show you where your unit is, but your architectural drawings will show you something else. So you always want to make sure that you're looking at those. And whenever you find a discrepancy between those two, you want to shoot an email or make a phone call to our estimating department so that they can help guide you through, because maybe it's something that we weren't aware of. Then we have to ask the design team for a clarification. Absolutely
correct. I mean, again, you brought up some great examples. One of the biggest things you'll know is that you said it is that architectural light fixtures, the quantity is never the same as it is on an engineering drawing. Outlets are not in the same place, because the architect has probably gone under a number of revisions and maybe didn't get those revisions to the engineer. So again, in theory, everything is accounted for, but when quantities are different, unfortunately, we buy the grander scope. So whether it's there or not, whether it's on the engineering drawings or the architectural, we own the scope. If we own the scope, then the subcontractor owns the scope. It's that, it's just trickle down. So yes, you're absolutely correct.
Okay. Are there any other factors that people should consider when putting together an estimate, whether it were for GC or CM, anything else that we might have missed to touch on that people make the mistakes a lot on?
Yeah. One, I think some of the things we still have to remember is similar construction projects. We said that, okay, we're just reiterating that. Inflation. How long is this job going to go on? I've seen a lot of contractors, they look at the schedule and it becomes a year and a half, 18-month, 2-year job, 24-month job. There's inflation. You have to look at your contracts inside. Will labor be going up in 10 months or 60 months? You almost got to look at materials and try and put a little bit of inflation on materials too. Whatever happens in 2 years, steel can go up. So if you're doing steel studs, they'll be more expensive than they were when you initially bid the job. So there's a number of factors that have to be included. Unfortunately, one of the problems with estimating is that it's normally rushed, and we don't always have the time to look at all these different factors. But it is a major part of the business. If the estimate is bad, you're starting from ground zero, and it's just going to get worse from there. So there are a number of things: inflation, quality of the plans and specifications. If there are questions, don't be afraid to ask. I'd rather, like they always say, there is no silly question. You have to ask the questions. It's our responsibility to get the subcontractors the answers. So yeah, I mean, there's just a number of factors. Funding, is it something that's okay for you? And then just terms and conditions of the contract. Remember, we normally trickle down all our risk to a sub. So they really have to be aware of the contract, what's included in the contract. There's a couple of things when you give a contractor a bid, they submit a really nice bid, something that you'd be willing to negotiate with them, and then all of a sudden they cross out half the contract requirements, and that's a huge problem.
Right, because whatever contract Holt is signing, our subcontractors, should they be contracted for the project, are bound to that.
Yes, they are. Yep.
So we want to make sure, and everybody knows that you get a bid package from Holt, you can see the redacted contract, so you know what you're signing up for. That is very important for you to read your contract. And if by chance it's not included in any of your bid packages, make sure you ask for it. The contract itself are the rules and regs of the game, so you need to have that so that you could succeed.
Insurance requirements also, contingent. A lot of subcontractors tend to have lower insurance requirements, and as they start to grow as a company, they find that they're bidding on bigger jobs, more technical jobs, and those technical jobs have bigger insurance requirements. And there could be a simple rider that they put to their policy for a small amount, but the worst thing to do is find out that you've been awarded the job, and then all of a sudden you don't have the proper insurance requirements. So, there's bonding. There's another one. Do they have the right bonding requirements? Are they bondable? So, yeah, there's so many risks that we get. I mean, that's a whole nother, talk or discussion that we can have just on the risks of bidding a job. So.
Okay. Last question, and this is one that we get a lot, and we have this issue with a post-bid review. So if a subcontractor does not get the project, should they request a post-bid review?
Absolutely. I think anybody who has put the effort in to submit a proposal in the first place, is entitled to and is definitely entitled to a post-bid review. You should always ask. It's highly recommended. It's the only way to possibly see where you could have made a mistake, and do you have the ability to fix it. You may see that, let's take electric, for example. All your costs may be in line with all 4 electricians, but your light fixture cost is considerably higher than the other. It may be an opportunity for you to go out as an electrical contractor and go get some new light fixture manufacturer or distributors. Not manufacturers, distributors. Yeah, absolutely ask for it. I think most times CMs would be more than happy to provide this. We ask for it. We ask for it. We'll call an architect and say, listen, where were we wrong? And after the job has been awarded, a lot of times the architects will come out and they'll say, yeah, come on, I can show you right here. Your painting number was a little high, or your flooring number wasn't consistent with everybody else. So yeah, no, it's definitely something that should be asked for, and it's a huge tool to go back and kind of like fix yourself.
So when someone wants to request a post-bid review, Should they contact their estimator, the project executive, the project manager? What's the chain that they should contact?
Well, I think the first person who has the most knowledge about the job at that stage of the game would be the estimator, the pre-construction manager or director, the chief estimator. They've put the job together. They've lived with the job for 2 to 3 weeks. You know, the project manager kind of gets it turned over. He kind of knows a little bit more. The estimator knows a little bit more than the project manager does at that particular point. If you don't get anywhere with an estimator, because they are busy, the average estimator is probably working on 3, 4, 5 jobs at one time. You can probably go to the project manager, the purchasing agent. They'll know. You know, they will get the leveling sheets and put in front of them. They'll see what all the costs are. It's something I think is a way for any subcontractor to provide better costing. Remember, it's a team, right? So as a CMGC, we have our team of subcontractors. They come along for the ride with us. So it's definitely something that it's information that we should be providing to them. It'll only make them better.
Joe, that was great. And now I'll go into the current opportunities for the Terminal 8 project, and then we'll have a live Q&A for any questions that we may not have covered in this session.